Hi, my name is Leo Batari. As you may know, I worked at Vistage from 2010 to late 2016. I headed up brand communications while I was there. Prior to my leaving, I co-authored a book called The Power of Peers: How the Company You Keep Drives Leadership, Growth, and Success. And it was essentially designed to create a narrative for people just to understand what peer advisory groups were all about and how incredibly effective and powerful they can be. Well, one of the things, of course, we learned, in addition to all of the various models and frameworks that you find in the group, is there are essentially 5 factors that really make for high-performing peer groups. And as you might imagine, it starts with having the right people in the room, right? It's the right peers. It's people who, in the case of a CEO group, for example, they share that common challenge of what it's like to sit in that chair and lead the entire organization with all of the stakeholders that are involved. They tend to have a shared understanding about what it takes to be a great contributing member to their specific group, and they develop that culture together. Third, what makes for a great group is that you've got all those voices around the table that are necessary to get all of the different perspectives that everyone can have access to, so that everyone gets the most valuable possible from the experience. Second, of course, is psychological safety. Now, let's face it, psychological safety wasn't even part of anybody's business lexicon prior to Google in 2012 when they were studying high-performing teams. Now, interestingly enough, the researchers at Google actually thought that whoever has the best players wins, right? Whoever has the best people on the team is going to be the best team. The reality is that, and I think we see this in sports all the time, we see teams with better talent lose to teams that have lesser talent, quite frankly, but they play together well and they do the kinds of things, they have those intangibles that make them really high performing. Well, in the case of psychological safety, we know in a group situation that being open and vulnerable is really, really important, right? It's the place where you can put not your best face forward like we have on social media where everyone's running their highlight reel, but truly your best foot forward, where you can have real conversations about what it takes in business and in life to be successful. And third, confidentiality is sacrosanct. What happens in the room or on the Zoom, however it is you're convening, has to stay there. Third, now that you've got a group whose members are open and vulnerable and feel comfortable, now what happens? The quality of the topics goes up. This is where productivity really becomes a big issue, right? Great quality topics. You've got an executive session that's run effectively and efficiently, where people are maximizing the value of all the intellectual and emotional capital in that room. And third, they get tangible takeaways. They come to the end of the year and realize, wow, I'm so much of a better leader, and my team at my company is so much better, largely because of my participation in this group. Fourth was accountability. Having that healthy culture of accountability, not a culture of accountability that feels onerous to the members, but a culture of accountability that gives them that incredible balance of support and challenge. And we looked at the member accountability and looked at it, in several ways, right? First of all, it is among the members. That's what's most important. Secondly, it's about everyone bringing their A game. So, for example, those values and behaviors that everyone agreed is so important to be a great contributing member, they are bringing their best to every single meeting and whatever they do in between meetings together, which is obviously, really important as well. And third, they follow up and follow through with one another. So if they bring an issue to the group and the group provides them with some really great thinking, and the person says, hey, here's what resonated with me, here's what I'm going to do going forward, that to be able to come back to the meeting and volunteer that information, not only from the perspective of accountability, but to make sure that it's a learning opportunity that doesn't get lost. Because as we know, we can sit in group meetings all the time and come up with all these genius ideas. And the reality is that sometimes when those ideas hit real life, they have a little something else in store for us. Last but not least, of course, we looked at leadership. Now, as you might imagine, when we were looking at peer groups all over the world, there were a number of different leadership models out there. Some were led by chairs, some were led by members who had some facilitation training. Others, in some cases, were just led by whoever was hosting the meeting that month. The reality, though, is we found that what made the leader effective and what they were essentially responsible for was largely the same. A, they were effective when they were truly servant leaders. You all as chairs are not there for your own self-aggrandizement or pad your resume. You're there because you truly care about your members and you care about, everything they do in terms of their lives and their businesses and what's in store for them. Next, I think, really identified this idea that the leader of the group was a part of the group, not apart from it. And this becomes really important because when you have an attitude where everyone has a shared responsibility for whatever result you're trying to achieve, I don't care if it's filling your group or how much fun you have or how productive you are, whatever that happens to be, everybody owns a piece of that. And finally, of course, the great leaders of groups like this serve as the steward of the other four factors. You all are making sure that we get the right people in the room exhibiting those right behaviors, that they enjoy a level of psychological safety. And by the way, not only did the environment is psychologically safe, but the people are accessing it and leveraging it to the best of their ability. That they're as productive as possible, and that you see a culture of accountability among the members that is truly serving them. So basically what we're going to do when you think about working with these 5 factors in your VCGs is we're going to look at the prevailing findings from members of over 300 workshops where they have basically told us, here are some of the prevailing challenges we have against each of these 5 factors that keep us from being the highest performing group we can possibly be. I think the reality is that these aren't challenges in every group, but there are challenges in a lot of groups. So presumably you all are sitting out there, you've got the answers to this test. You have the best practices that make sure that the right people in the room, that people are leveraging psychological safety the way they need to, that they have a culture of accountability that's healthy for the group. So largely what this whole workshop is all about is for you to sit down, have intentional conversations using this 5-factor framework so you can dive into each one of these factors and talk about the best practices that have worked for you, over the years, to make sure that we mine those best practices and we share them with Vista's chairs, not only here in the US, but around the world. So very excited about the prospect of you all participating in this. I really look forward to hearing all the results, and just can't wait to see you all real soon. Thank you so much. Bye.